Now, there are reports this morning of a rocket attack on Kabul airport. It's thought a number of rockets were fired but intercepted by a US defence system, although some appear to have landed in a neighbourhood close to the airport. Coming, of course, as the final flights are arriving in the UK from Afghanistan at the end of a 20-year military campaign involving British forces. Well, let's talk to the Foreign Office Minister, James Cleverly, who joins us now. It's good to see you this morning, Minister. Look, what is happening on the diplomatic front? Because we're getting reports that the Foreign Secretary is going to be meeting counterparts from Turkey and also some Qatari officials. Is that happening?
Well, what we've got to remember is that although the immediate evacuation process using Kabul airport has now come to a close, we are of course still working through that repatriation and evacuation effort. And that will be done with regional partners, both neighbouring countries and countries in the region. That's what we're moving on to next, to make sure that the people who still need to get out of Afghanistan have an ability to do so. And at every level of government, we will be working with our international contacts to try and facilitate the maximum number of routes out that we can negotiate.
So are you talking to the Taliban as well?
Well, we've always said, and I think the Prime Minister has said very recently, that we will judge the Taliban by their actions. They have made certain commitments about not taking out reprisals on individuals, about facilitating exit. Obviously, we are sceptical about those commitments, but we will continue working with them to an extent, based on their conduct, to try and facilitate that further evacuation and repatriation effort.
Yeah, but I mean, the Prime Minister made promises almost, didn't he, about a phase 2 here. That, I mean, however much we talk to Qatar and Turkey and other countries, Pakistan, you know, that phase 2 can't happen, can it, without some sort of Taliban cooperation?
Well, of course, the fact of the matter is that the Taliban hold large parts of the geography of Afghanistan, and just as the initial part of the evacuation and repatriation plan through Kabul airport was done to a certain extent in conjunction with the Taliban, we know that we are going to have to work with them to an extent. What we're not going to do is just assume good faith in every respect. We're going to judge them on their actions. We're going to hold them to account if they fall short of their promises and commitments, but we are going to keep working to get people out of Afghanistan that need to leave Afghanistan.
Well, how many people who should have had access to the UK have been left behind?
Well, that's an impossible number to put a figure on. We had 3 methods by which, or vehicles by which, people could leave Afghanistan. Obviously, British nationals, and we have a much better idea of how many British nationals were in Afghanistan. And the vast bulk of British nationals have now left Afghanistan. The Arab scheme, those Afghans, interpreters and others who had worked directly for us and with us had their scheme. But also, we extended to Afghans who were at risk of reprisals. And there was no set number of people in that third group. That's quite a potentially significant group, and they were assessed on their individual applications. We are going to continue working to get people out that fall into those groups. Predominantly now, of course, it will be in that third group, people at risk of reprisals, whether they be high-profile individuals or religious minorities, or others who may be under severe risk of reprisal from the Taliban.
I mean, the Foreign Office has been sort of looking at figures of around about 1,000 or perhaps a little bit more. As you say, they're far from being exact. The Shadow Foreign Secretary says her office is tracking 5,000 inquiries, and that's coming via Labour MPs alone, which would seem to indicate there could be far more.
Well, you've got to remember that the applications for asylum here in the UK will need to be assessed. Not necessarily everyone that applies is someone that we would want to support for a whole host of reasons. The Prime Minister has made it clear that we are a nation which is generous of spirit, and we are very much looking to support the Afghans who are at fear of their lives or fear of reprisals from the Taliban, and that is a piece of work that will continue. It will continue with our international partners, and we will continue to apply pressure to the Taliban, both bilaterally and, as I say, through countries both in the region and more widely, to hold them to account and hold them to the commitments that they have made.
Is it true that at the height of this, there were only about a dozen people in the Foreign Office who were working to coordinate evacuations?
No, that can't be true. I mean, the whole of the ministerial team were involved in this in one way or another. There were a number of officials on the ground in Kabul and a significant number of people in London who were involved in that. I can't tell you exactly how many at any given time, but this was a cross-government operation with officials and ministers from right across government departments and backbench MPs all working together to try and get as many people out of Afghanistan as possible. This was a real team effort. It relied on every part of the team working hard. I can't put a specific figure, but there were many, many people working around the clock trying to evacuate and repatriate people from Afghanistan throughout this process.
Well, is it true, as is also being alleged, that there are hundreds of emails from concerned citizens and from charities and NGOs working within Afghanistan and the region, sent emails to the Foreign Office that were just, I mean, not just ignored, but not even opened?
Well, you've got to remember that when we extended our evacuation efforts to Afghan nationals, we, of course, received a flood of requests. And those were worked through, and they will continue to be worked through. But I know my own inbox had a huge number of emails came through, some duplicates. And of course, we focused on the people who were at the airport, who were being processed, and who we felt that we could get out through Kabul airport whilst we still had security of Kabul airport. We will, of course, continue to work through applications from people who have contacted us, people who are still trying to get out of Afghanistan. Because, as I say, the repatriation and evacuation effort has not finished just because Kabul airport has now closed to us.
Yeah, but with respect, you didn't answer the question. I mean, there is a possibility, then, is there, that there's still correspond. I mean, despite the huge number of staffers that there must be available to sit on a computer and go through emails, there are still emails potentially that have not been opened, are there? And whereas some people may say, well, it's just an email, this is a matter of life and death for some people.
Well, our priority, you've got to remember that we knew that there was a window of opportunity that was closing to us whilst we held Kabul airport. There were people who had been processed, who had contacted us, been processed, been called forward by us, and were looking to get on a flight. And we had to make sure that those people who were in Kabul airport were able to get on the aircraft that were at Kabul airport. That had to be the priority. There were, as I say, a significant number of people that contacted us and were their contact details forwarded to us by emails, by MPs. We will continue to work through those. But of course, our priority at Kabul at the time was to get the people who were already ready to leave onto aircraft and out of the country. And we will continue to work through the applications for evacuation and repatriation, because that operation has not concluded just because Kabul airport has closed.
Just about out of time, Minister, but obviously you've got real concerns about the Taliban and how they're behaving, and even they seem to be getting outflanked by ISIS-K. Is the UK less safe than we were a month ago?
Well, I mean, sadly, we saw the attack at Kabul airport. We saw members of the American military, Afghan citizens, and sadly, of course, British nationals killed in that attack. We will work tirelessly to protect the safety of British people, both home and abroad. That's what we do. Ensuring that the Taliban stick to their commitments in terms of maintaining the internal security within Afghanistan is important. And of course, we will have to keep a very, very close eye on what happens in Afghanistan to make sure it doesn't descend back into a haven for terrorism, which the Taliban have said that they are committed to preventing, and we will seek to hold them to that.
Where are we in terms of threat level at the moment then?
Well, obviously there's information that I'm not able to discuss on the television today, but obviously, as I said, we are keeping a very, very close eye on the security and counter-terrorism situation in Afghanistan.
OK, Minister, thank you.